A few weeks ago, I went out as usual to take nighttime photos. I'm a freelance photographer, and the best shots happen after dark. That night, I felt drawn to an old industrial area. It was eerie, with dilapidated factories and overgrown lots. I had heard rumors about an abandoned theater nearby. People said it held echoes of the past. I parked my car near the theater. Something caught my attention. An old car was idling nearby. There was a man inside, staring right at me. He looked unkempt. I grabbed my camera, thinking I could capture that strange scene. But when I turned back, the car was empty. My heart raced. I didn't know if I should be scared or curious. The night felt heavy around me. Over the next few days, I returned to that same spot. Each time, unease nagged at me. I took pictures of shadows around the theater, where flickering street lamps cast strange shapes. I kept glancing over my shoulder, like someone was watching. It felt uncomfortable, but I pushed it aside. Then one night, I heard distant music. It was soft, almost like a whisper. I thought my mind was playing tricks, but the sound seemed close. It sent shivers down my spine. The more I visited, the stronger that feeling grew. The theater felt alive. I saw quick movements out of the corner of my eye, figures darting between the buildings. I told myself I was imagining things, but my heartbeat quickened each time. Eventually, I decided to take a closer look inside the theater. One night, I stood in front of the door. It creaked as I pushed it open. A smell of mildew hit me right away. I stepped in, swallowed by darkness. My camera flashed repeatedly, revealing dust and decay. My footsteps echoed. It was quiet, too quiet. But that faint music still played somewhere. Then I saw something. A figure stood at the back of the stage. I blinked, not sure if it was real. A cold gust of air brushed against my neck, making me shiver. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. I opened my mouth, wanting to ask if they were okay, but no words came out. I turned around, expecting someone behind me. But there was no one. Just that empty theater, echoing my fear. I felt a knot in my stomach. I couldn't explain what I had seen. After what felt like hours, I mustered the courage to leave. Driving home, the weight of unanswered questions pressed on my mind. The memory of that night still haunts me. The theater, the music, what did I encounter there? I wish I knew. I couldn't shake the images from the theater out of my head. Days passed, but every night, I found myself drawn back to that desolate place. I figured if I took enough photos, maybe I'd uncover the story hidden there. The city's skyline loomed behind me as I parked my car once more, the engine cooling after the drive. As I stepped out into the thick night, the air felt colder. The distant hum of traffic faded as I approached the theater. I pulled out my camera, feeling the familiar thrill of capturing shadows and lost moments. But tonight, something felt different. The music was louder, echoing through the alleyways. It tugged at me, pulling me closer to the entrance. Stepping inside, the musty scent of the old theater hit me harder than before. I flicked my camera on, each flash reminding me I was not alone. The stage was empty, but I felt something lurking in the darkness. I moved toward the pit, the old seats creaking beneath my feet as I positioned myself for a shot. That's when I heard a soft laugh. My heartbeat quickened. I turned fast, aiming my camera into the blackness. No one was there. After a few deep breaths, I tried to steady myself. I was being ridiculous. But the laughter came again, a slow, mocking sound. I could feel it wrapping around me. I instinctively stepped back, nearly tripping over a broken seat. My instincts screamed for me to leave, but my curiosity held me hostage. I raised my camera, desperately trying to find something solid to focus on. That's when I saw it. A glimmer of light flickered at the back of the stage, illuminating a silhouette. I squinted through the viewfinder, heart pounding in my ears. It was the figure again, draped in shadows, motionless yet somehow alive. I hesitated, then snapped a photo, but the light dimmed, leaving only darkness behind. The music shifted then, transforming into soft whispers that seemed to swirl around me. They felt intimate, like secrets being shared beneath the surface of the night. A chill shot through me as I heard my name. "Who is there?" I shouted, my voice trembling. The whispers stopped immediately. Silence surrounded me, thick and oppressive. I wanted to run, but the urge to uncover whatever was happening held me in place. I stepped forward, my camera still raised. The silhouette shifted slightly. Was it moving toward me? Panic surged. I turned to leave, but the door slammed shut. A jolt of fear coursed through me as I realized I was trapped. I pounded on the door, desperate to escape, but it wouldn't budge. I turned back to the stage, knowing I couldn't stay hidden in the shadows forever. Something wasn't right. I needed answers, but all I felt was dread. Then, a figure stepped from the backstage, and I froze. My heart raced as I caught my breath. The moment felt surreal. It was the man from the car. He stood there, his eyes locked onto mine. He didn't say a word, but the energy felt charged, electric. And I knew, I was about to find out the theater's dark secrets. The figure stepped into the faint light, and everything around me blurred. His face was twisted into an unsettling grin. It sent a chill down my spine, but I couldn't look away. The last rays of the dying light danced in his eyes, revealing a depth I couldn't comprehend. "Why are you here?" He finally spoke, his voice low and haunting. I struggled to answer. I just came to take pictures," I managed to stutter, my voice barely above a whisper. He chuckled, but there was no joy in it, just a mocking echo that bounced around the empty theater. "You shouldn't disturb what sleeps beneath the stage." A knot formed in my stomach. I could feel the weight of his words. He took a step closer, and I instinctively retreated. My back hit the wall, solid and unyielding. Panic surged again. What had I stumbled into? The air shifted, and the music started anew, rising in volume. The whispers returned, drowning out the fear that churned within me. "Listen closely," he said, his eyes narrowing, "or you'll be lost in the darkness like the others." I glanced toward the backstage area. The shadows seemed to ripple as if something was moving behind them. The curiosity that had drawn me here now felt like a curse. I raised my camera again, my thoughts racing. Is there something back there? Is that what you're hiding? Do you want to see? He replied, his voice thick with menace. I could feel his gaze pierce through me like an arrow. With a deep breath, I nodded. It was foolish, but fear and intrigue twisted together inside me. He gestured toward the stage. "Then come closer." As I stepped forward, the music shifted again. This time, it switched to a tense, unsettling melody that seemed to vibrate through the very floor beneath me. I felt the urge to scream, to run, but something deeper compelled me to stay. The figure watched me intensely, waiting. I edged closer to the stage, the air thick with anticipation. My heart raced as I peered into the darkness surrounding the backstage. Suddenly, the group of shadows shifted, and I let out a gasp. A hand emerged, skeletal and pale, clutching a tattered script. It reached for me, its movements deliberate and slow. I fumbled back, tripping over the edge of a seat. The floor felt like quicksand, holding me in place. "Pull it," he said urgently, as if he hungered for my response. "What you find will reveal everything." I was torn between dread and insatiable curiosity. What could it mean? I inched toward the hand, feeling the overwhelming pull. Instinctively, I raised my camera once more, desperate to capture the moment. But before I could press the shutter, the lights flickered violently. Suddenly, everything went dark. I fumbled in the pitch black, my heart racing. The laughter returned, laughter that crawled into the deepest corners of my mind. I froze, panic consuming me. Then I felt a gentle tug on my sleeve. "Stay," he whispered, sending a shiver down my spine. That single word echoed in the silence as the darkness pressed heavily against me. What was happening? What other secrets lay hidden in this theater? I could feel the shadows ready to reclaim me, and I knew that whatever I uncovered next would change everything. There was no turning back now. The darkness swallowed me whole. I struggled to breathe, my thoughts muddled by confusion and fear. The gentle tug on my sleeve felt unreal, as if the figure had somehow stepped into the void. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but my feet were frozen. "Stay," he whispered again, more insistent this time. I finally managed to pull away from the grip of the shadows. I turned my head, trying to find the way back to the faint light. "What do you want from me?" I croaked, my voice trembling. "You must awaken them," he replied, and the urgency in his tone sent a jolt through me. "Only you can set them free." "Who?" I hesitated. "What do you mean?" The darkness shuddered, and I heard a faint whisper behind me. It was incoherent at first, but as I strained to listen, words started to form: names, broken promises, desperate pleas. "Listen." His voice was a low growl now. "You see, the ones that sleep are not just memories. They are trapped souls, waiting for someone to remember them." Sweat broke out on my forehead. Everything around me felt alive, buzzing with some unseen energy. I wanted to run, to escape his grasp. But the idea of those trapped souls, lost and waiting, kept me anchored to the spot. "Wake them, or they will take you," he warned, his tone darkening. It felt like a threat and a promise wrapped into one. "They need to be remembered. You must find the script." Then there was a stirring behind me, and the skeletal hand jerked back into the shadows, as if someone else had claimed it. My heart raced at the sudden change. "Wait!" I called out. But no answer came. Instead, the laughter erupted again, echoing through the void. Suddenly, a dim light flickered back to life somewhere in the theater, casting elongated shadows on the walls. The figure was gone, swallowed by the darkness, leaving me alone. I felt utterly exposed. I took a cautious step toward the light, cautiously scanning the room. The air felt charged. I realized I needed to find that script he mentioned, as strange as it sounded. Moving toward the stage, I fought the urge to look back. The whispers persisted, and I edged closer. The light revealed a pile of tattered papers scattered across the floor beside the stage. I knelt down, sifting through the bits of crumpled paper. Titles blurred into one another. My breath quickened until I spotted one that stood out: The Last Show. Panic fluttered in my chest. I could feel the weight of eyes on me, drawing nearer. I grabbed the script and opened it. The words danced across the page, a haunting tale of betrayal and despair. As I read the first lines, the theater transformed around me. The sounds of footsteps echoed, and I could see figures forming in the shadows at the edge of my vision. They were watching, listening. That's when I felt the presence of something cold and dark brushing past me. Someone was in the theater with me. The hairs on my arms stood up, and I was paralyzed with fear. I wanted to shout but could only whisper, "What do you want?" The theater answered with an eerie silence, but deep within, I felt the whispers grow louder. I knew I wasn't alone anymore, and whatever had been waiting for me was about to make itself known. I could feel the truth creeping closer, but there was still so much to discover. And yet, I was terrified to look. I felt an invisible weight pressing down on me, urging me to read on, but I resisted. The air in the theater thickened, wrapping around me like a fog. It was hard to think straight while the whispers encircled me like a swarm of angry bees. The words on the page drew me in again, and before I realized it, my lips were forming the phrases aloud. Each syllable sent a shiver through my spine, igniting a spark of energy in the air. The shadows flickered closer, their outlines indistinct and eerie. Then it happened. An intense chill washed over me, and from the darkness emerged a figure, its features obscured but unmistakably human. Panic surged within me. I dropped the script, scrambling back as the thing came nearer. I fought the urge to turn and run but couldn't pull my gaze away. "Help us," it whispered, a voice threading through the chaos around me. The words felt heavy, laden with sorrow. More figures materialized, each one ethereal and haunting. They wore expressions of anguish, like echoes of a time long forgotten. I took a shaky step back. "Who are you?" I stammered. "What do you want?" "Remember us," they chorused, their voices merging into a haunting melody. "You hold their fate. The script, it must be completed." I suddenly recalled the figure's warning. "They will take you," echoed in my mind. I had to wake them. But how could I? I had no idea what this script truly meant or the power it held. Tentatively, I reached for the tattered pages again. The voices seemed to hush, waiting for a response. This time, I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply, willing my trembling fingers to turn the pages. As I read on, I felt a surge of images flood my mind. Each line birthed flickers of memories I didn't own. A grand performance. A curtain call. Applause mixed with chaos. Then silence, heavy and dreadful the moment everything changed. The shadows pulsed around me like a heartbeat. I could almost glimpse the stories behind those lost souls. Each one tethered to the theater, longing for the world outside. The dread grew sharp, and suddenly, I wasn't just a voyeur, I was a player in this surreal scene, perched on the edge of something monumental. The script fell open to an unfinished scene, the last lines obscured. "Finish it," the figures pushed, their whispers fraught with anticipation and fear. A sudden wave of determination surged within me. Maybe I could help. But what if this only led to my own unraveling? I felt a crack forming in my resolve. Just then, the lights flickered violently before plunging me into complete darkness. The figures jerked back, their anguished expressions turning to panic. "Finish the script," they cried out in unison, the desperation echoing within the void. And then, silence fell once more. My heart raced as I strained to see through the blackness. Shadows shifted in the corners of my vision, and I could feel a sense of urgency rising. I needed to uncover the truth hidden in those pages whatever it took. Instinctively, I whispered, "I will remember you. I'll find a way." But suddenly, I felt a hand grip mine from the darkness, its touch icy and firm. I gasped, my pulse quickening. "Then you will be one of us." The voice was chillingly familiar, and I searched desperately for a face in the shadows. But the darkness pressed in again, and I could feel time slipping away. I was running out of chances and I had to face whatever awaited me head-on. I felt my breath hitch as the icy grip tightened around my hand. It felt as if the darkness itself was alive, pulsating with malicious intent. The voice, cold and ancient, scared me more than anything else. I fought the urge to scream. At that moment, a sudden flash illuminated the room. For just an instant, I saw them all, the silhouettes of the figures surrounding me, their faces twisted in despair and anguish. I could make out the pleading in their eyes, a reflection of their sorrow, and the reality of their existence crashed over me like a wave. "I won't become one of you," I shouted, pulling away from the ghostly hand, but my own voice cracked like fragile glass. "Choice is an illusion," the voice echoed, muffled by the shadows. "You are already bound to us." The lights flickered once more, and the theater came alive in sporadic bursts of illumination, revealing the peeling paint on the walls, the worn velvet seats, and the remnants of a past show. I felt lost in it, as if I had entered a limbo between life and something else. Driven by fear and desperation, I turned my focus back to the script. It lay on the floor, waiting for me to reclaim it. Just as I gathered my wits, the whispers crescendoed, now filled with agitation. "Finish us," they urged, their voices a clamoring tide, rising and crashing around me. With unsteady hands, I picked it up, trembling as I turned the pages. The words leapt off the paper, intertwining with my thoughts, urging me to read faster. The last scene seemed closer to completion, but I couldn't grasp it completely. A shiver raced down my back, and I felt a looming presence at my shoulder, breathing with me. Frantically, I scanned the incomplete scene. A name stood out, etched deeply in my mind, a name I hadn't seen before, but felt oddly familiar. It echoed in my heart and reminded me of a distant memory. Talia. Had I known a Talia? There was something unsettling about her name, a sense of urgency buried deep beneath my subconscious. Suddenly, the shadows shifted. A figure broke from the murky depths, stepping closer. "You remember," it said, its voice smoother than the rest. "You can change it." "Change what?" I asked, frantic. "How?" But the figure didn't respond. Instead, it pointed to the final line of the scene. The penmanship was shaky, with words barely discernible. All I could make out was, "She must," and the rest faded into an indecipherable blur. The theater trembled, as if it were alive, responding to my fear. My heart thundered as the shadows converged again, pushing against me, each whisper growing louder, more insistent. Finish the script. With renewed purpose, I glanced back at the haunting words. I felt a pull, a pressure in my chest, urging me to understand the weight of that final message. Yet there was something in the air that felt off, a pulse that hinted danger. That was when I saw a glimmer of light emerging from beneath the stage. It flickered like a beacon, beckoning me closer. I could sense that this was crucial, a turning point, perhaps my only chance to crack the mystery of the script and those trapped within it. Without thinking, I moved toward the light, the shadows swirling in protest. I needed answers, but deep down, I feared what lay ahead. Whatever awaited me underneath that stage had the potential to seal my fate. And with that thought, I felt the icy hand return, gripping my wrist tightly. Finish it. The whispers became a deafening roar, consuming the air around me. The darkness swirled chaotically, the line between reality and nightmare blurring as I approached the light. Could I truly complete what was begun? Or would I become just another whisper in the theater? The light pulsed under the stage, strong and unwavering despite the shadows clawing at my heels. I felt as though the theater itself was urging, willing me to lean in closer. With a trembling hand, I reached down, feeling the cool surface of the floor vibrate beneath my touch. As I knelt by the edge of the stage, the whispers grew softer, their desperation morphing into an unsettling sort of anticipation. I peered into the darkness beneath the wooden platform, my heart hammering in my chest. What lay beneath? Was it a way to save those lost souls? Or something worse? Gingerly, I leaned forward, squinting into the murky depths. The light revealed a glimmer of metal, a small, rusted key, lying helplessly amidst the dust and debris. I shouldn't have felt the rush of relief, but I did. Could this unlock something? I wondered, reaching for it. As my fingers grazed the key, a rush of cold air swept around me. It carried with it a sharp, metallic scent, and I staggered back as a vision flooded my mind. I saw flashes of a woman, her face twisted in agony, pleading silently. Talia. The name echoed like a distorting shout, sending shivers through my bones. Help me. Her lips formed the words, but no sound reached my ears. I shook my head, trying to block the barrage of images, but they pressed in closer, like the shadows against the walls. Talia was trapped, just like the others. But where? What did I need to do? The voices returned, hungry and urgent, their frustration palpable. Use the key. They demanded, a mix of sorrow and wrath. The door must be opened. I took a deep breath, determination boiling beneath my fear. I had to do something now. I pulled the key from the ground, feeling its weight in my hand, turning it over. Where does this go? Suddenly, the darkness thickened, pressing in tighter, and I staggered to my feet. The theater moaned like a beast awakened. My mind raced. Is there a door? Somewhere. That S when I spotted it, an old, hidden door at the back of the stage, half concealed by shadows. If this was where the key belonged, it was also where the secrets waited. But the urgency settled heavy in my stomach. Please. The whispers rose, a symphonic blend of despair and hope. Do not wait. I dashed to the door, my heart pounding louder than the first claps of thunder in a storm. The key slid into the lock, and I turned it slowly, the sound echoing unnaturally in the silence. It clicked, and just like that, a violent gust erupted from behind it, slamming the door open. The light from within was blinding. I took a step back, fear pulsing through my veins. A part of me wanted to flee, to escape the chaos, but the voices urged me on. It's time. You must understand. Taking a deep breath, I crossed the threshold. The light enveloped me, pulling me into its depths. But as I stepped through, I felt something shift, a sudden cold flash like a hand wrapping around my throat, holding me hostage in both the light and darkness. Just as I thought I defined answers, the door slammed shut behind me. The shadows were now outside, wailing in anguish. No. Don't leave us, they cried. With a jolt, the realization hit me, this was no mere transition. Something was wrong. I hadn't just entered a new space, I had crossed a line, cut some thread binding me to the prior world. As I turned around, something whispered in my ear. You've come to finish the script. But now, you must face her. The light dimmed, revealing Talia standing before me, her once familiar face now twisted in an expression of infinite sadness. You shouldn't have come, she said, her voice barely a murmur. And that S when I understood I was never meant to find the key. I was meant to confront the truth. The light dimmed further, and an unsettling silence swallowed us. Talia's gaze pierced through me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was both lost and utterly dangerous. My heart raced. What happened to you? I blurted out, desperate for answers, but all she did was shake her head, her expression wrought with grief. You shouldn't be here, she repeated, and with that, I felt the air shift. The theater around us, once vibrant, began to warp, the walls stretching like elastic, and the floor creaked and groaned, as if it was alive. You need to leave. Talia's voice grew frantic. You're in danger. Danger from what? I asked, taking a cautious step toward her. Shadows curled around the corners of the room, whispering malevolently. They seemed to pulse with a life of their own, as if they recognized that I had ventured too far. From him. Talia pointed to the far side of the stage. I followed her gaze, and chill gnawed at my insides. Out of the darkness emerged a figure, a silhouette defined by an eerie glow, and just like that, the temperature plummeted. It wasn't just cold, it was a biting chill, sharp enough to cut through my skin. Who are you? I stammered, dread pooling in my stomach. I am the keeper of lost dreams, the figure said, its voice echoing like a distant thunderclap. I've been waiting for someone to finish what was started so long ago. Finish what? I questioned, trying to keep my fear at bay. Talia's desperation swept through me like a cold wind. You're not meant to meddle with the past. The figure laughed, a low, harsh sound. You've already meddled by unlocking the door, my dear. There's no turning back now. The shadows thickened, stretching toward me with claw-like fingers. They whispered urgent messages, warnings I couldn't fully grasp. My mind raced, grasping for a way out. Talia. We need to go. I shouted, feeling the walls close in around us. She shook her head, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I can't. I'm bound here. But you can escape if you confront the truth. Truth? I echoed, but before I could ask more, a rush of anger swept through the chilling air, and the shadows lunged at me. In a panic, I fumbled for the key in my pocket, the only thing connecting me to the world I had known. I can't stay here. Please. Her face twisted in confusion and fear. You have to confront him. Only then can your path be clear. Before I could respond, the silhouette lunged forward, its form dissipating into hundreds of flickering shadows that filled the space. I flailed, trying to shield myself from the darkness, but it enveloped me, and for a moment, I felt weightless. Then everything went dark. I gasped, waking up somewhere else, no longer in the theater. The air around me was still. For a moment, I just lay on the ground, the cold earth pressing into my skin, reality creeping back into focus. Where was I? Then I noticed something, a script lying open beside me, the pages fluttering in a soft breeze. I reached out, curiosity warring with dread. As I read the words on the page, a flood of memories rushed in. That was when I realized who I had to confront. But knowing didn't come without its price. I felt the weight of the shadows behind me, urging me to rise. In that moment, I knew I had no choice. I had to finish the story. But the question echoed in my mind, what had I really unleashed? I pushed myself up from the ground, the weight of the script heavy in my hands. The words had shifted something deep within me, a recognition that sent shivers down my spine. I had to face my own past, and the thought was paralyzing. As I scanned my surroundings, I noticed trees towering over me, their branches intertwining like skeletal fingers against the night sky. I was in some sort of clearing, but the oppressive silence felt like a trap. It took me a moment to find my bearings. The air was still, but I could feel the echoes of my heartbeat. What awaited me here? Where was Talia? I remembered her urgency. She was trapped, reaching out for me even now, yet I felt so far away from her. I took a step forward, and that's when I heard it, a soft rustling coming from the underbrush. My heart raced again, but I forced myself to stay calm. I had ventured too far to turn back now. Slowly, I approached the sound, every instinct in me screaming to retreat, but I needed answers. As I neared the edge of the trees, something moved, a flash of silver darted past. I gasped, instinctively preparing to flee, but then I paused. It was just a rabbit, its eyes wide and frightened. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. Suddenly, a low growl pierced the night. My stomach dropped. As I turned, I was met with a pair of glowing eyes lurking behind a tree. Whatever it wasn't friendly. My instincts kicked in, and I backed away slowly, keeping my gaze fixed on the creature. Show yourself. I demanded, trying to sound brave, but my voice shook. The creature stepped into the moonlight, revealing a wolf with matted fur and a gaunt frame. Its posture screamed hunger. But that wasn't the worst part. As I looked deeper into those eyes, I saw a flicker of recognition. A ghost of something familiar. The wolf seemed to be watching me, not just as a predator, but as if it knew me in some way. I stumbled back, the script dropping from my hands. I had unleashed something more than shadows, this creature felt intertwined with my fate. My fingers trembled as I picked up the script again, the words swirling before me. The keeper of lost dreams, I muttered, remembering the figure's laugh from the theater. Confront the truth, Talia had said. Was this the truth staring me down? Before I could catch my breath, the wolf lowered its head, a mix of curiosity and challenge in its eyes. Without think, I felt drawn to it, an inexplicable connection tightening around us. But before I could move closer, a growl rumbled from deep within its chest. It was as if it hadn't decided if I was friend or foe. Just then, a cold wind swept through the clearing, making the trees sway ominously. You're not here to play nice, I whispered. The shadows around us lurked, dark and insistent. The wolf's eyes bored into mine, and I felt the pressure of decision weigh heavy on me. That's when I realized, I wasn't just facing a beast. I was staring down a reflection of my own fears. I took a deep breath, my pulse racing, and stepped forward ready to confront that truth. But as I did, I heard the soft rustle of pages behind me. I turned, and to my horror, the script had begun to rewrite itself. What had I awakened in this cursed place? The words swirled across the pages, morphing before my eyes like a living entity. Panic flared within me as I tried to grasp what was happening. The script filled with lines that tangled with my memories, tales I thought buried resurfacing, each memory a thread piecing together a shocking narrative. I turned back to the wolf staring at me. It was still watching, but its growl had faded into a soft whimper, as if it, too, was unsettled by the words on the pages. Something was changing in its eyes. It wasn't just a creature driven by instinct anymore. It felt alive with understanding, with shared experiences. "Wait," I whispered, my heart racing. You want me to remember, don't you?" The wolf nodded, its gaze fierce yet pained. I stepped back, grappling with the connections my brain was making. It was more than just a wolf, it was a reminder of something I had lost, something that had been hiding in my own darkness. The shadows shifted around me, whispering in a cacophony of despair and urgency. "You must finish the script. You must understand." They echoed. I felt trapped yet determined. The rush of emotions from the script pushed me to reconsider everything I had ever known. Memories blurred into one another, and before I realized it, I stumbled back to the opening lines. "Awaken them. Remember them." In a moment of clarity, I recognized Talia's face. The gentle smile, the warmth of her laughter. I had known her not just as a ghost, but another piece of my past. But there was more, a flicker of regret, of anger, of unfulfilled promises. "Talia, it was you they were referring to," I breathed, recalling fragments of long-buried conversations. The wolf barked, an almost encouraging sound, pushing me to keep digging. Yes. Not just her, the others, too. The whispers urged me forward, twisting and weaving around my thoughts like a grasping vine. I felt the script vibrating in my hand, the light flickering yet again. It was alive, drawing strength from my fears, but also granting me power. I raised it up, rallying my courage. "I will remember. I will finish this." With every word that escaped my lips, shadows coalesced into form, faces emerging from the darkness eager to tell their stories, to reclaim their pasts. They stood behind the wolf, their eyes filled with knowing kindred spirits. They whispered, "Help us." The wolf stepped aside, and the figures moved closer. I felt their pain, their longing, and the sadness that came from being forgotten. But I could sense something else, an unwavering hope that surged through them like electricity. This was my purpose, to set them free. Determined, I scanned the lines of the unfinished script. I needed to understand the narrative. "She must." I murmured, feeling the weight of the script as I read on. Everything melded together. What had been buried beneath each phrase was now rising up, demanding to be voiced properly. The words flowed off the page, unyielding yet illuminating, revealing a tapestry of betrayal and love, of chaos and harmony. But just as realization dawned, the darkness recoiled. "No. Do not remember." The shadows surged, trying to claw back what they had held for too long, attempting to pull me into their depths. Instinct kicked in. "You cannot take them back." I shouted defiantly, the strength of my voice surprising even me. With a fierceness I didn't know I possessed, I directed the key back toward the shadows. "I will reclaim everything, every person who has been silenced." The wolf moved in tandem, a companion to my call, while the combined energy of the spirits behind me ignited a fierce amalgamation of light and warmth that pushed against the darkness, suffocating the theater. The air shimmered like heat waves, and the shadows shrieked, their form fracturing as the light burned through. And just like that, the weight of answered questions fell upon me like a tidal wave. The names, the faces, the haunting memories, they flooded my senses, blending into one overwhelming experience. I felt them all, Talia, the others, each story begging to emerge from shadows to light. With a final shout, the darkness skewed, ripping apart like fabric, and I braced against the tempest that followed. "They will remember you," I cried, allowing all the voices to funnel through me, creating an unbreakable chorus surging into the ether. As the darkness relented, I blinked away tears, realizing for the first time that maybe I had the answers all along. But the shadows remained indistinct, hovering on the edges, suggesting that not all accounts were reconciled, nor all questions answered. As the chaos settled into an uneasy silence, I felt the familiar tug of uncertainty. What remains? But the answers never came. I turned to find the wolf standing still, its gaze now firm yet oddly understanding. "You've achieved something," it seemed to say, and yet, I could still feel the presence of something hovering just beyond sight, leaving me with lingering questions. Had I truly sealed the past? Or had I only awakened something else long buried? Night had fallen completely, and I stood in the clearing, script in hand, filled with questions that would remain unanswered, the boundaries between light and shadow blurred beyond recognition. Whatever played out in that forgotten theater would continue, lingering just below the surface of my own understanding. For now, I took a breath, steeling myself against the unknown, and stepped forward. Whatever lay ahead, it was mine to confront, and perhaps, next time, the truth would finally set everyone free.